Texas, where he is visiting the U.S.-Mexico border for the first time as president. This trip comes after his administration outlined new regulations on immigration, this in an attempt to discourage migrants from crossing the border illegally. Those crossing hit a record high number last September. Alasdair Baverstock is at the border in El Paso, Texas. Alasdair, what do we expect from this presidential visit?
Hi there, Sean. Good afternoon here. Well, Biden, as you mentioned, is now in El Paso, but he'll be here for just 3 hours, during which time he will visit migrant asylum processing centers, as well as spending a bit of time with the Border Patrol to see the situation on the ground. But what he will not see is this here behind me. He has no plans to come and visit the migrant crisis, which is currently on the streets, where thousands of mainly Venezuelan migrants are waiting for a solution which they will probably not get to their asylum requests. And a lot of that has to do with the new White House regulations on migration. Those are specifically designed at stopping people from going on the migrant trail. And specifically, people will now have to apply for humanitarian parole from their home countries for one of 30,000 places a month, which the United States will grant, but conversely will now stop people who come to the border. If you present yourself at a port of entry and ask for asylum, that will now be considered an undocumented crossing and exclude people from any chance at asylum in the future. And as in terms of policy, we have already seen Biden arrive, and Governor Greg Abbott of Texas was here to receive him, and he was not particularly complimentary. He said, yes, welcome to Texas, but these new regulations on migration have been announced too late. It's not enough. We need to see more effort from the White House in tackling migration across the southern border, which mainly affects Texas here, as you can see behind me in El Paso, where the migrant crisis is in full swing.
It's interesting the fact that President Biden will not see the chaos, confusion, and crowding on the street. And from El Paso, he's going to go to Mexico City after his visit, of course, and the North American Leaders Summit. What can you tell us about that important two-day meeting?
Well, it is going to be a very important summit, the first one, and one which will define North American relations ahead of 2023. Well, when it comes to migration, the US and Mexico have been collaborating since 2019, when President Trump threatened to impose trade tariffs on Mexico if the country didn't do more to tackle migration flows towards the southern border. Mexico certainly obliged President Trump and continues to do so throughout the Biden administration. We see the Mexican National Guard are very involved when it comes to tackling migrants as they move through Mexico and before they even reach the US border. Also, when it comes to other topics which will be on the table at this Three Amigos summit, as it's often called, well, US-Mexico relations have been strained elsewhere. We see the constant problem of narcotics moving north into the United States and firearms moving south, as well as Mexico's interpretation of free trade rules currently, which the United States is not particularly happy about. So a lot to talk about in what will be a very interesting North American Leaders Summit.
Alasdair, thanks. As always, we appreciate your hard work. Well, Russia says it has killed more than 600 Ukrainian soldiers